Bitcoin is basically back to those record highs from a couple of years ago. And it's kind of a fool's errand to ever try to figure out where Bitcoin is headed. But just in terms of things that are on the horizon, we got the halving coming up. We've had the ETF that was recently, spot ETFs are now becoming more mainstream. And has it been 2 months? We'll start maybe a little bit slow, but then it's been like kind of a rocket ship.
If you look over the last 60 days and in the next 60 days, I think there's two big stories. The ETF approvals obviously were a huge deal. BlackRock alone has $11 billion in their ETF. They added $1 billion just in the last day. And so these are massive inflows for just one fund. There's 11 of them. And so obviously there's tons of money coming in, about 12 times more demand for Bitcoin than what the network is producing every single day. Once you break through an all-time high, it's price discovery. What is this thing worth? The world is going to try to figure that out. And 3 of the last 4 times in 18 days or less, it doubled in price. You add in the fact that we have the halving coming, and we're going to go from 900 Bitcoin a day coming into the supply to 450. And it's very hard to make an argument that Bitcoin is not going much higher and at a faster pace than we all expected.
I feel like I need to say that past results are not indicative necessarily of the future. It just sounds, anyone at home, if they're totally new at this game, they might mortgage their house and put it all in Bitcoin. And there's still risk in the asset.
I definitely don't think that they should do that. If you go and you ask most people in the Bitcoin world, they will tell you higher percentages than you would expect in terms of what they've put in. But I think 1 to 5% for a traditional portfolio ends up making sense.
But you just made a case for going from 70 to 140 in 18 days.
Bitcoin's up 20% in the last week. It's up 60% in the last month. And it's up 200% in the last year. I'm not saying it's going to 140,000. What I'm saying is 3 of the last 4 times, it doubled in 18 days. And with a halving upon us, it's just hard to not say this is likely to go much, much higher. And so what I think also we start to pay attention to here is there's 3 main new buyers that are now going to come into the market. The first is public pension funds. We had a fund that was anchored by 2 public pension funds in Fairfax County, where the CIOs there. They're up 12x on their exposure to Bitcoin in that fund. And so when you see that, you say to yourself, wait a second, there's only 4 funds last year in all of state public pension funds that were fully funded. If they all went and put 1% in Bitcoin, there's a very strong possibility that a number of those funds would get back to fully funded status over the next 10, 15, 20 years. On top of that, you've got sovereign wealth funds. They've been very quiet right now. There's now ETF opportunities for them. They don't have to go buy Bitcoin and potentially take the risk of the geopolitical backlash. They can simply go get the exposure without actually holding the Bitcoin. If a sovereign wealth fund comes out, especially a major one, and says, we've bought Bitcoin, I think that there will be a global race between countries.
Do you think gold is up in sympathy with Bitcoin? I mean, 34, inflation is coming down. Is it 34 trillion? Is it the amount of debt and how quickly it's growing that has Bitcoin and gold both strong in recent months?
If you go and you look, one of the critiques of Bitcoin was the zero interest rate phenomenon, right? Oh, if rates are down, Bitcoin's up. Yeah. If rates go up, Bitcoin comes down.
They haven't come down.
Well, rates are up and Bitcoin is back to an all-time high. Stocks are up, et cetera. So what Bitcoin has become is a index for global liquidity. And although the Fed, the ECB, and Japan are actually contracting their balance sheets, China has been basically giving the middle finger to the rest of the global economy. Okay. And they're saying, hey, we're going to ease here. We're going to go and put liquidity into the market. And so Bitcoin is a big, big winner. If you believe that the dollar is going to continue to be debased over the coming decade, Bitcoin's going to be a winner. And if you think global liquidity is going to go up, Bitcoin's going to be a winner there too.
What's gold's market cap? Is it
10 trillion or so?
10 to 12 trillion. Yeah. Some people are looking for Bitcoin to be 10%, 50% of the market cap. Do you think it could be a multiple of the market cap of gold?
Today, Bitcoin at 1.35 trillion. It's bigger than the U.S. high yield bond market.
It's a tenth of gold. If you go to half of gold, that'd be...
It used to be 1% of gold. Now it's 10%. Eventually it's going to be 100%. And eventually it's going to go past gold. Because Bitcoin is a 10x improvement on gold. And if you're a 10x improvement, to be 2 times the market cap would make sense.
Okay. So you're bullish.
Very bullish on
hitting. And that's the other thing. If the network isn't producing any and no one's selling, then where the hell are these ETFs going to get the Bitcoin?
We could be wrong, but the probability is that it's going higher.